The joke was supposed to be harmless. At least that's what everyone in the room believed at first. But sometimes a single sentence can crack something invisible between two people. Something fragile that had been quietly holding a marriage together for years. And when that crack appears, the laughter fades much faster than anyone expects. It happened on a quiet Friday evening, the kind where the air felt warm and relaxed, where friends gathered around a table with half-finished cups of coffee and the lazy comfort of familiar company. My wife had always been the center of attention in those moments. She was lively, quick-witted, and fearless with humor. People loved that about her. I loved that about her too. But that night, in the middle of casual laughter and harmless teasing, she made a joke about her past. She mentioned her ex-boyfriend, someone she hadn't spoken about in years. Then she laughed and casually said that he had been bigger than me. The room laughed. For a second, even I smiled. But something deep inside me tightened. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength it takes to hold relationships together, take a moment right now to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes in forgiveness, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this. Because sometimes the smallest moments carry the biggest lessons. At first, the joke seemed harmless to everyone else. It blended into the noise of the evening like any other playful tease between couples. But inside me, the words echoed louder than the laughter around the table. It wasn't just the joke, it was what it awakened. For years, I had carried a quiet insecurity that I never spoke about. Not because my wife made me feel small, she never had before, but because life itself had a way of doing that. I wasn't the richest man in the room. I wasn't the most successful. I wasn't the loudest voice or the boldest personality. I was just steady. I worked long hours, I paid the bills, I fixed things around the house. I tried to be the kind of husband who showed love through quiet actions instead of dramatic gestures. But jokes about comparison, especially comparisons to someone from the past, have a strange way of planting doubt. The laughter died down after a few minutes, and the conversation moved on like nothing had happened. People began talking about travel plans, work stress, and random stories from childhood. But I had grown quieter. I watched my wife across the table as she smiled and laughed with everyone. She had no idea that her words had landed differently than she expected. To her, it was just another playful moment. To me, it felt like something deeper. Not anger, not jealousy, something more complicated. That night, after our friends left and the house fell into silence, I stood in the kitchen rinsing dishes while she scrolled through her phone on the couch. The soft sound of water hitting porcelain echoed in the empty room. I thought about the years we had spent together, the nights we stayed up talking about dreams, the struggles we had faced early in our marriage when money was tight and uncertainty hovered over every decision, the quiet promises we had made to each other about loyalty and respect. And I realized something strange. The joke hurt not because of what she said, but because of what it made me question. When I finally walked into the living room, she looked up with the same relaxed smile she had carried all evening. She asked casually why I had gotten so quiet earlier. For a moment, I almost brushed it off. But then I remembered something my father once told me about marriage. He had said that silence can slowly build walls between people, and those walls are much harder to tear down than the truth. So instead of hiding the feeling, I answered honestly, not with anger, not with sarcasm, just honesty. And my reply wiped the smile off her face. I told her that jokes comparing someone you love to someone from the past might sound harmless in a room full of laughter, but they can quietly chip away at trust. I explained that I had never compared her to anyone else. Not her past relationships, not people she used to know, not anyone. Because when I chose to marry her, I chose to leave comparisons behind. I told her something even more important, that I never tried to be bigger than anyone she had known before. I just tried to be better for her. The room fell silent. The words weren't loud, but they carried weight. For the first time that evening, the playful energy disappeared from her expression. She sat there quietly, absorbing what I had said, realizing that the joke she thought was harmless had touched something deeper than she intended. What happened next surprised me. She didn't get defensive. She didn't argue. Instead, her eyes softened in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. And slowly, she apologized. Not the quick, casual apology people give just to end an uncomfortable moment. A real one. She admitted that she hadn't thought about how the joke might feel from my side. She explained that sometimes people become so comfortable in relationships that they forget the importance of protecting each other's dignity. And she said something that stayed with me long after that conversation ended. She said that being bigger had never been what made someone meaningful in her life. Kindness did, patience did, loyalty did. And she reminded me of all the moments when I had quietly stood by her side during the hardest chapters of her life. The nights when she cried about losing a job opportunity. The days when family problems overwhelmed her. The times when anxiety made her doubt herself. I had been there through all of it, not loudly, but steadily. That conversation changed something between us, not in a dramatic movie-like way, but in the quiet way that real relationships grow stronger, through honesty, humility, and understanding. Over the next few weeks, we started talking more openly about the small things that usually go unspoken in marriage, the tiny insecurities, the fears we hide behind humor, the words we sometimes say without realizing their weight. And we discovered something important. Love isn't just about grand gestures or romantic moments. It's about protecting each other's hearts in everyday conversations. Months later, when we hosted another small gathering with friends, the atmosphere felt just as warm as before. Laughter filled the room again. Stories bounced between people. The same easy comfort returned. But this time, something was different. When playful teasing started drifting toward relationship jokes again, my wife gently steered the conversation somewhere else. Not because she had become overly serious, but because she had learned something valuable. Respect isn't something you show only in big moments. It's something you protect in the smallest ones. And strangely enough, that simple lesson brought us closer than we had been in years. Before we reach the ending of this story, I have a special request for you watching right now. Comment the word respect if you believe that strong relationships are built on kindness, honesty, and protecting each other's dignity. Your comments truly help this channel grow and spread meaningful stories to more people. Years have passed since that evening, and sometimes we still laugh about the moment when one careless joke turned into one of the most important conversations of our marriage, but we laugh about it differently now. Not because it was funny, because it taught us something. It reminded us that words matter, and that love isn't about proving who is bigger, stronger, or better than someone from the past. Love is about choosing each other every day with respect. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of something important in your own life, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe for more emotional stories like this. Because sometimes the quietest lessons in love are the ones that stay with us the longest.